Hi students, welcome to PhD Jobs and Admission. This is Gauri. So in this video, I'm going to teach you about KSOU PhD Common Entrance Test 2023 Research Methodology Syllabus. So in that, we are going to see null and alternative hypothesis in research by using MCQs. Both of these are the types of hypothesis, and these are the most important types of hypothesis because we are going to test the null and alternative hypothesis in the research procedure. Okay, and that's why on these two topics you will be asking most of the MCQs in PhD Common Entrance Test. So I have covered all of the concepts relevant to null and alternative hypothesis in research in this video, so that all of the students have to watch this video until the end so that their concepts will get clear. So now students, let us begin with this session. All of the students now know that there is a KSOU PhD Common Entrance Test 2023, and which is really very near now, and all of the candidates have less amount of time, and that's why in this less amount of time all of the candidates have to score more marks in the PhD Common Entrance Test so that they can qualify it. So in this entrance test, they'll be asking you 50% MCQs on research methodology and 50% MCQs on concerned subject. To score more marks in research methodology paper, we provide you research methodology complete course. So by the use of this complete course, all of the candidates can guaranteed qualify PhD Common Entrance Test. So in this complete course, we provide you full syllabus video lectures under which theory and MCQs lecture both are available. We provide you full syllabus notes and mock tests. So we have 10 mock tests like this, and in each mock test we provide you 40 MCQs, and that's why overall all the candidates can solve 400 MCQs in the mock tests only. So we provide you more than 1500 MCQs revision PDF. So by the use of this revision PDF, all of the candidates can revise all the topics of research methodology in a single PDF. And that's why you will be getting 80% MCQs from this revision PDF itself out of 100% MCQs in the research methodology section of the entrance test. And the study material is available in both the languages, that is Hindi and English. So students, if you want to buy this complete course, then all the candidates can either download the Global Online app from the Play Store. For that I have given the link in the description box of this video, or else the students can contact me through the WhatsApp numbers that I have shown on the screen. The course fees are only 699, and in these low fees we provide you guaranteed selection, that all the candidates can guaranteed qualify the PhD Common Entrance Test, and all the candidates can guaranteed score more marks in research methodology paper. So this complete course is nothing but a research methodology revision package for all the candidates. Okay, start with our today's session. Given below are two statements, statement 1 and statement 2. So let us see what are these statements. The null hypothesis states that students will recall significantly more information on a Monday morning than on a Friday afternoon. Okay, and what is statement 2? The alternative hypothesis states that there will be no significant difference in the amount recalled on a Monday morning compared to a Friday afternoon. So over here students, we need to answer the question like which of these statements are basically correct or incorrect. All of you getting? And as I have told you earlier in yesterday's video only, that null hypothesis states basically about that there is no relationship between the two variables. Okay, no relationship. But alternative hypothesis states that there is relationship between the two variables. But if we read both of these statements, then within the null hypothesis part they have mentioned that there is significant relationship between the information on a Monday morning, okay, and on a Friday afternoon. So there is basically the difference, okay, between the information grabbed by the student on a Monday morning and as well information grabbed by a student on a Friday afternoon basically. But in the alternative hypothesis, they have stated that there is no any significant difference between these two things, and that's why exactly opposite statements have been stated over here. So in the place of null hypothesis, they have given the definition of alternative hypothesis, and in the place of alternative hypothesis they have given the definition of null hypothesis. And that's why your correct answer should be 2, because both of these statements are incorrect. All of you getting students? Because both of these statements are incorrect. Okay, Now next is a hypothesis that states zero difference or no difference between the parameter and its assumed value is known as. So whenever a hypothesis states us that there is no difference or zero difference between the parameter and its assumed value, then what type of hypothesis is it? Whether it is simple hypothesis, whether it is directional hypothesis, or whether it is non-directional hypothesis, or whether it is null hypothesis. Okay, so as I have told you earlier in this video only, that such kind of hypothesis is called as the null hypothesis. So you can actually familiarize the word null. So the meaning of null itself is zero. Okay, so it means that there is zero difference or there is zero relationship between the parameter and its assumed value. Okay, what is simple hypothesis? So basically simple hypothesis states us the exact relationship between the variables. Okay, there are already, okay, whatever relationship between the variables already there, okay, exact relationship is going to be stated by simple hypothesis. Okay, now what is directional hypothesis? So basically directional hypothesis is the hypothesis which states about the result in one direction only. Okay, it has only one direction, and that's why this kind of hypothesis is tested by one tail test. Okay, and I think we have seen this test as well in yesterday's video, so for that you can refer to yesterday's video. And what is non-directional hypothesis? So this is exactly opposite to the directional hypothesis. Okay, because here the hypothesis does not state about the direction of the results of the test, and that's why this hypothesis is tested by two-tail test. Okay, two-tail test, and that's why your correct answer should be 4 students, which is null hypothesis. So apart from this, we provide you KSOU PhD Common Entrance Test 2023 paper to study material. As all of we know that you will be asking 50% MCQs on concerned subject, that is on paper 2 in PhD Common Entrance Test, right? So to qualify the paper 2, we provide you paper 2 study material, under which we provide you full syllabus notes and MCQs. So in MCQ section, we provide you most expected MCQs and PYQs. By the use of them, all of the candidates can guaranteed score more marks in paper 2, and that's why they can qualify the KSOU PhD Common Entrance Test 2023. So the subjects that I have shown on the screen, on all of these subjects, we provide you paper 2 study material. So if candidates want study material for any other subject, they can contact me through the WhatsApp numbers or they can comment me. So the fees for paper 2 study material is only 999, and in these low fees we provide guaranteed selection, that guaranteed all of the candidates can qualify the PhD Common Entrance Test by scoring more marks in paper 2. So to join paper 1 and paper 2 courses, candidates can contact me through the WhatsApp numbers that I have shown on this screen. Okay. When a researcher rejects a true null hypothesis in his or her study and accepts the alternative hypothesis, what type of error is likely? So whenever a researcher rejects a true null hypothesis and accepts the alternate hypothesis, then after that what type of error will occur? As I have told earlier in previous video, students, that there are two types of error occur. Okay, whenever we test the null hypothesis in the research process. So those types of errors are type 1 error and type 2 error. So basically, students, type 1 error occurs when we reject the true null hypothesis. Okay, whenever we reject the true null hypothesis, then in that situation type 1 error occurs. And whenever type 2 error occurs, then in that situation we are going to accept the false null hypothesis. Okay, false null hypothesis. So these two concepts are really important to all of you, because on these concepts every time at each year you will be getting questions in the PhD entrance test. Okay, and that's why in this question your correct answer should be 1, that is type 1 error, because the question asked regarding type 1 error itself, because here we are going to reject the true null hypothesis over here, and in that situation type 1 error occurs. Okay, the probability of not accepting the null hypothesis when the alternative hypothesis is acceptable is called. So what is the probability of not accepting the null hypothesis? And in that situation basically alternative hypothesis is acceptable. So it means that here null hypothesis is false, and that's why we are not accepting it. Okay, so what is the probability of this kind of situation? So whether it is a rejection range, whether it is demarcation, or whether it is normative incidence, or whether it is power. So students, your correct answer should be power, because power is the probability of rejecting null hypothesis when in fact it is false. So whenever this null hypothesis is false, actually it is false in reality, and that's why we are rejecting it. Okay, and the probability of rejecting this false null hypothesis is basically called as what? Power. Okay, and that's why your correct answer should be 4. Okay, and that's why you can also say that power is the probability of avoiding type 1 error, or power is the probability of not making type 2 error in simple words. Okay, so there are lots of definition for power, but in simple words you can say that power is the probability of not making type 2 error. All of you getting? Now students, what is this demarcation? What is this? So basically demarcation is the marking of limits or boundaries. Then what is this normative incidence? So basically normative incidence is taken from the normative data itself. Okay, and this is the data from a reference population that establishes a baseline distribution for score or measurement, and against which score or measurement can be compared. Okay, and what is rejection range? Rejection range is also called as the critical range. Okay, and this is the region and is a set of values for test statistic for which null hypothesis is rejected. Okay, so it includes the values, and for these values basically we are going to reject the null hypothesis. But for this question your correct answer should be 4, that is power. Next, given below are two statements. Now here as well you have been given two statements, statement 1 and 2. Okay, and we need to give the answers, basically what are the statements correct from these two statements. Okay, now let us see what is statement 1. Type 1 error refers to the decision to reject the null hypothesis when it is incorrect. Okay, and what is statement 2? Sampling error occurs due to the violation of the principle of random sampling. So basically, as we have seen earlier in this video, that type 1 error, basically what is that? This refers to the decision that we are going to reject the null hypothesis, okay, when it is basically true or correct. Okay, but exactly opposite is given in this statement. Okay, and that's why this statement becomes false. And what is the second statement? Sampling error occurs due to the violation of the principle of random sampling. Okay, so basically sampling error occurs due to the mistakes in the sampling techniques, or due to the mistakes in choosing the wrong sample size. All of you getting? So sampling error does not occur due to the violation of the principle of random sampling, and that's why this again statement becomes false. So your correct answer should be 1 over here, because both of these statements are false. Okay, using an appropriate parametric test in a research project, the researcher finds evidence to reject the null hypothesis. In doing so, which type of error is likely? So basically, a researcher did a particular parametric test in a research project, and after doing the parametric test, he finds the evidence that he need to reject the null hypothesis. Okay, so whenever he is rejecting the null hypothesis, then in that situation what type of error will occur? So whether alpha error will occur or beta error will occur, or both alpha and beta errors will occur, or neither alpha not beta error will occur. So basically students, there are two types of error that I have told you earlier, and those are type 1 error, okay, and type 2 error. Okay, so again I am going to tell you about this. So type 1 error occurs when we are going to reject the null hypothesis whenever it is true. Okay, all of you getting? Null hypothesis. And type 2 error occurs when we are going to accept the false null hypothesis. Okay, so the probability of occurring type 1 error is called as alpha. Okay, is called as alpha error or alpha, and the probability of occurring type 2 error is called as the beta or beta error. But in this situation, basically researcher is going to reject the null hypothesis and he is not going to accept the null hypothesis, and that's why over here type 2 error gets eliminated. So the only remaining option will be type 1 error, and its probability is what? Alpha error, and that's why your correct answer should be 1, that is alpha error. Okay, and as well students, both the errors does not occur simultaneously in any research process. Okay, so your correct answer should be 1. Next, given below are two statements, statement 1 and statement 2. So let us see statement 1. In research, null hypothesis when rejected offers the scope for accepting the alternative hypothesis or substantive research hypothesis. Okay, and statement 2 is when the null hypothesis is rejected, there will be chances for committing a beta rather than alpha error. So now the statement 1 states that whenever in a research process, whenever we reject the null hypothesis, then obviously it offers us the scope that we need to accept the alternative or substantive research hypothesis, and this statement is correct because whenever we reject the null hypothesis, then automatically we accept the alternative hypothesis. Okay, because this is a rule. Okay, and that's why this statement is correct. But the second statement states that whenever we reject the null hypothesis, then there will be chances for committing a beta error rather than alpha error. But this statement is incorrect because as we have seen earlier in this video, that whenever we reject the null hypothesis, then there will be the chances for occurring type 1 error. Okay, not type 2 error, because within the type 2 error we are going to accept the null hypothesis, we don't reject it, and the probability of occurring type 1 error is itself what? Alpha. Okay, and that's why over here there will be chances for committing alpha error. Okay, there should not be beta error, and that's why your correct answer should be 3, because over here statement 1 is correct but statement 2 is incorrect. Okay, next, a research scholar finds through statistical analysis that the value of t is significant. What decision is warranted on the basis of this hypothesis? So basically a research scholar is doing statistical analysis in his research process, and after doing the statistical analysis he finds that the value of t is significant. Okay, so based on this value of t which is significant, okay, what decision he will take about the hypothesis? So whether he will reject the null hypothesis, or whether he will accept the research hypothesis, or whether he accept the null hypothesis, or whether he reject the research hypothesis, or whether there is no decision is warranted in respect to the research hypothesis. So as I have told you earlier that whenever we reject the null hypothesis, then obviously we need to accept the research hypothesis and vice versa. And null hypothesis basically states us that there is no difference or no relationship between the variables, but research hypothesis alternatively tells us that there is a difference or relationship between the two variables. Okay, and over here, after doing the statistical analysis, researcher has got a t-value significant. So it means that whenever we get the t-value as a significant value, then we need to accept the research hypothesis over here. Okay, and that's why in this situation we need to reject the null hypothesis, and that's why the two decisions is warranted over here on the basis of this hypothesis, and these two decisions are that null hypothesis should be rejected and research hypothesis should be accepted. So your correct answer should be 1, that is A and B only. Okay. Next, hypothesis in research means. What is the meaning of hypothesis? As I have told you earlier in the previous video as well, hypothesis is the basically the prediction of the results of your whole research process. Okay, and that's why whenever you are doing a proper prediction, then this is a statement, and basically this statement includes a proper clarity about the variables under study. It includes the clearly definition about the proper relationship between the variables. Okay, and that's why hypothesis is intellectual guess, this is a brilliant guess, and this is an intelligent guess, all of these. Okay, and that's why your correct answer should be 1, that is 1, 2 and 3. So hypothesis can't be a negative guess. Okay, because if it would be a negative guess, then how we can test it? Okay, and that's why always it should be an intelligent, then intellectual and brilliant guess. A good hypothesis must possess the following main characteristics. Now over here they have given some characteristics of hypothesis. So we need to identify the main characteristics of a good hypothesis over here. So let us see different characteristics. Hypothesis should be capable of being tested. So it means that hypothesis should have testability. So we should be able to test the hypothesis. A good hypothesis can defy law of nature. So it means that good hypothesis deny the law of nature basically. Hypothesis should be clear and precise. A good hypothesis permits of the application of deductive reasoning. Hypothesis should be unlimited in scope. So basically students, as we have seen earlier in yesterday's video, that hypothesis should have testability. It means that it should be capable or able to be get tested, because we need to test the hypothesis so that we will get the final results of our whole research process, and that's why hypothesis should be capable of being tested. So this is one of the main characteristic of a good hypothesis. Good hypothesis can defy law of nature. So this is basically incorrect, because good hypothesis should able to clearly specify and permit the law of nature. It should not defy the law of nature. All of you getting? And hypothesis should be clear and precise. Yes, this is again the main characteristic of good hypothesis, because hypothesis should be clear and it should have clarity so that we can easily test it. Then hypothesis permits of the application of deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is the process, or you can say approach of a research. So in this approach basically we have an existing theory, and based upon an existing theory we are going to formulate a hypothesis, and after that we are going to test the hypothesis by using different statistical techniques, and after that finally we get the results. Okay, so this is nothing but the whole approach of deductive reasoning towards the research, and basically good hypothesis permits this application of deductive reasoning for its testing. Okay, because without deductive reasoning we can't test the hypothesis, and that's why again this is the main characteristic of good hypothesis. And the last one is incorrect, because a hypothesis should be limited in scope. Okay, it should not have unlimitations in the scope. Okay, That's why your correct answer should be 2, that is A, C and D only, because A, C, D, these are the options which are the main characteristics of a good hypothesis. Okay. So students, thank you for watching this session. I hope all of you understood exactly what is the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. And one more thing is that research hypothesis and alternative hypothesis both are equal. Okay, because these are the similar phenomenons. Okay, the another name for research hypothesis is alternative hypothesis and vice versa. Okay, so don't confuse within this. And one more thing is that you should understand the concepts of what is exactly alpha and beta, what are the type 1 and type 2 errors, and whenever the test is significant, then in that situation which type of hypothesis you need to accept and reject. So all of these things make into consideration. And after viewing this session, if you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment box.